The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the dusty streets. People hurried past, lost in their own world, their eyes fixed on their phones, their worries, their routines. Amidst the chaos, a small figure moved quietly. A boy, no more than 12, bending down over worn-out, broken shoes scattered along the roadside. He picked them up one by one, his hands gentle, as if each shoe held a story. Some were torn, some had holes so big that tiny toes could peek through, and yet he handled them with care. No one noticed. No one stopped. Everyone simply walked by. But then Ibrahim appeared. His sharp eyes caught the boy's movements, and curiosity pulled him closer. He stopped a few steps away, watching silently as the boy meticulously tucked each shoe into his tattered bag. "What are you doing, little one?" Ibrahim asked softly, his voice breaking through the hum of the bustling street. The boy looked up, startled, but didn't speak immediately. There was a pause, heavy with something unspoken. A secret the boy carried, a reason that no one could have imagined. And in that quiet moment, Ibrahim realized that this small boy, with nothing but a bag and a heart full of kindness, was about to reveal a truth so powerful, so heartbreaking, that it would shake the very soul of everyone who heard it. The streets of the humble neighborhood were alive with the sounds of everyday life. Children ran barefoot, chasing after worn-out balls, while street vendors called out their daily offerings: fruits, snacks, and cheap trinkets. The air smelled faintly of dust and cooking fires, a mix that spoke of simple lives and quiet struggles. Ibrahim walked slowly through the street, his eyes taking in every detail, not as a leader or a visitor, but as a man who genuinely wanted to understand the world around him. As he passed a small corner, something unusual caught his eye. A boy, no older than 10 or 12, knelt on the ground, his tiny hands moving carefully over a pile of broken shoes. Some were ripped at the seams, others had soles dangling precariously, and a few were so damaged that it seemed impossible to fix them. Yet, the boy treated each one with astonishing care, as though they were precious treasures. Ibrahim paused. People passed by. Some slowed down to glance, curious about what the boy was doing. Others ignored him entirely, absorbed in their own concerns. No one stopped to offer help or even ask a question. But Ibrahim could not look away. There was something in the boy's movements, something quiet but powerful, that tugged at his heart. He observed the boy closely. Each shoe was picked up, examined, and then carefully placed into a tattered, worn-out bag that had clearly seen better days. The boy's expression was focused, yet gentle, a rare combination that spoke of determination and compassion far beyond his years. The sun had begun its descent, casting long shadows along the narrow street. Ibrahim's curiosity grew with every passing second. Who was this boy? Why was he collecting broken shoes? And most importantly, what drove him to care so deeply for these discarded items when everyone else walked past without a second thought? Unable to contain his curiosity any longer, Ibrahim took a few careful steps toward the boy. He knelt slightly to meet him at eye level, careful not to startle him. "Hey, little one," he said softly. "What are you doing here with all these shoes?" The boy froze for a moment, his small hands hovering over the next pair of shoes. His eyes, wide and cautious, met Ibrahim's, searching for any sign of judgment or ridicule. But all he found was genuine curiosity and concern. For a few moments there was silence. The bustle of the street continued around them, yet for Ibrahim and the boy, time seemed to slow. The boy finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of something profound. I'm fixing them," he said, "for those who don't have any shoes at all." Ibrahim felt a lump rise in his throat. Here was a child so small, yet carrying a responsibility so heavy, a mission so selfless, that it made him pause and reflect on the world he thought he understood. In that instant, Ibrahim realized that this encounter was more than a chance meeting. This boy, with his tiny hands and a heart bigger than most adults, was about to show him a truth so simple, yet so powerful, that it would change the way he saw kindness, humanity, and hope. Ibrahim crouched down a little, lowering himself to the boy's level and spoke gently. "That's a lot of shoes for one person to handle. Why are you doing this?" The boy's hands paused mid-motion. He looked at Ibrahim with wide, cautious eyes, unsure whether to speak. Then, after a deep breath, he whispered, I fix them. For those who don't have shoes at all." Ibrahim's heart tightened. "You mean you don't sell them?" he asked, surprised. The boy shook his head vigorously. "No, no one should have to walk barefoot. Some children have nothing. I want them to have shoes. Even if they are broken, I try to make them whole again." For a moment, Ibrahim simply watched. The boy's words carried a sincerity and purity that left a deep mark. Then, as the boy continued, the story of his life began to unfold. Quietly, humbly, but with a weight of resilience that Ibrahim could feel in his bones. The boy led Ibrahim mentally through his small home. A cramped, sunlit room with cracked walls, a simple mattress, and a tiny kitchen where his mother cooked over a charcoal stove. He had a little sister, no older than 6, with bare feet and a bright smile that hid the hardship she faced every day. The boy recalled a memory from not long ago. A rainy day when his only pair of shoes had worn out completely, leaving him to walk home through mud and puddles. The pain, the cold, the embarrassment. It had all been too much for someone so small. He remembered wishing desperately for someone, anyone, to help him. And in that memory, Ibrahim could see the spark of what had driven this boy ever since. He had not forgotten the helplessness, the discomfort, the longing to simply walk freely. Instead of letting it make him bitter, he had transformed it into a mission, to ensure no other child in his neighborhood would suffer the way he once had. Ibrahim felt a lump form in his throat. Here was a boy with nothing but determination, compassion, and a heart far larger than his small frame. Poverty had not hardened him. It had nurtured a rare kind of kindness that many adults could not even imagine. The boy's eyes glistened as he continued. "Sometimes, when I see them wearing the shoes I fixed, even if they are torn again in a week, I feel happy. I feel like I've done something right, something that matters." Ibrahim nodded, barely able to speak. He understood, finally, the depth of this child's courage and generosity. This wasn't just about shoes. It was about hope, dignity, and love in the purest form. A child who had so little was giving so much, and it reminded Ibrahim of the true meaning of humanity. That kindness, no matter how small, could ripple outward and touch lives far beyond what anyone could see. In that moment, Ibrahim felt something shift inside him. He realized that this boy, quietly moving through the streets with a tattered bag and unwavering determination, carried a message stronger than any speech, any act of power, that even in the smallest hearts, greatness and compassion could shine the brightest. Ibrahim watched the boy carefully as he continued to pick up shoes from the dusty street. Every movement was precise, deliberate, almost reverent. The boy's tiny hands moved like a skilled craftsman, inspecting each torn seam, each worn-out sole, and placing them gently into his old, tattered bag. There was a quiet dignity in his actions, but also a weight that Ibrahim could feel, a burden far heavier than anyone his age should ever carry. "I can see you care about these shoes," Ibrahim said softly, trying to ease the tension in the boy's eyes. "But why? Why do you do all of this? What drives you to go through so much trouble every single day?" The boy froze, looking down at the ground. His fingers fidgeted nervously with a thread hanging from one of the shoes. For a long moment he didn't speak. Then, with a deep, shaky breath, he finally looked up at Ibrahim, his small eyes glistening with unshed tears. "My sister. She can't walk properly," he whispered. "Her feet, they are not like other children's. If she doesn't have shoes, she falls. She hurts herself. She can't go anywhere safely without them." Ibrahim felt a lump form in his throat. He crouched closer, his heart tightening as the boy continued. And there are many children in my neighborhood," the boy said, his voice trembling, "who don't have shoes, or the shoes they have are broken. I see them walking barefoot, struggling on the rough streets, and it hurts. It hurts so much. I can't just stand by. I have to do something, even if it's small. Even if I can only fix one pair, it is something. It is hope. As he spoke, Ibrahim noticed the boy's worn fingers, stained with dirt and tiny cuts, working tirelessly on a pair of shoes he had picked up earlier. He imagined the boy staying up late into the night, carefully stitching and patching, dreaming of the children who would wear them. He could almost see the little faces lighting up with joy, the bright smiles that would make every stitch, every thread, and every ounce of effort worthwhile. Ibrahim's chest tightened. He realized that this child, with so little in life, had taken upon himself a responsibility far beyond his years. He was not only caring for his sister, but for an entire neighborhood of children, carrying their struggles on his small shoulders. Every move the boy made, every pair of shoes he mended, was a testament to courage, compassion, and humanity in its purest form. Tears threatened to spill as Ibrahim silently admired the boy's heart. He thought of the countless adults he had seen, people with resources, power, and education, who rarely displayed even a fraction of this boy's empathy. And yet, here was a child, so young and fragile, carrying a mission fueled purely by love, kindness, and an unwavering sense of responsibility. In that moment, Ibrahim knew something had shifted inside him. He no longer saw the boy as just a child collecting broken shoes. He saw him as a beacon of hope, a symbol of selfless humanity, and a reminder that even the smallest hands can carry the heaviest burdens and transform them into something beautiful. Ibrahim stepped back slightly, giving the boy space to continue his careful work, yet his mind was racing. He had seen much in his life, the weight of leadership, the decisions that could shape nations, and the responsibilities that came with power. He had helped people in many ways, guided communities, and enacted policies meant to bring change. Yet, standing there on this dusty street, watching a small boy tenderly mend broken shoes, he felt a pang of introspection he hadn't experienced in years. The boy's dedication was quiet, humble, and yet so profoundly impactful. He wasn't seeking recognition, reward, or praise. Every stitch, every repaired shoe, was done purely for the joy it would bring to others, for children who had nothing, for a sister who relied on his efforts, for a neighborhood that might never even know his name. Ibrahim felt the contrast sharply in his mind. All his past acts of leadership, all his grand gestures, seemed heavy and formal compared to the simplicity and sincerity of this child's mission. Memories began to flood back. There was the time he had helped rebuild a school in a remote village, organizing resources, staff, and funding. The day had been a success in statistics, photos, and headlines. Yet he remembered walking away that evening, realizing that the impact, while significant, had lacked the personal touch he now witnessed in the boy. Then he recalled giving aid to a struggling family, handing over boxes of supplies with media watching, applause echoing around him. He had acted with all the influence at his disposal, but in his heart, he knew it couldn't compare to the small, persistent, selfless effort of this boy who labored without anyone noticing, without anyone cheering, without expecting anything in return. Ibrahim felt a deep humility settle over him. True heroism, he realized, was not defined by the power one wielded or the grand gestures one performed. It was measured in the quiet moments of care, in the actions that uplifted others without fanfare, in the selfless acts that touched lives at their most vulnerable points. It was in the way a child could make someone smile, in the way small hands could create hope where there had been none. As he watched the boy carefully place a repaired pair of shoes into the worn-out bag, Ibrahim felt something shift inside him. The boy's determination, his courage, his unwavering empathy, became a mirror reflecting what humanity could be at its best. This little boy, with his tattered bag and calloused fingers, had become a symbol, a beacon of hope and a reminder that even the smallest hands could change the world. For Ibrahim, this encounter was transformative. It was a reminder that influence was most meaningful when paired with compassion, and that real leadership wasn't about commands or titles, but about inspiring others to act with kindness, regardless of their age, resources, or status. And in that quiet, sunlit street, Ibrahim vowed silently to carry this lesson forward, to honor the boy's dedication by spreading the message that the smallest acts, when done with love, could ripple out and touch lives far beyond imagination. Ibrahim's heart had been deeply moved by the boy's quiet heroism, and he knew he could not simply walk away. The determination in those small hands, the love for his sister, and the care he showed for an entire neighborhood demanded action. He resolved, then and there, that he would help the boy amplify his mission. What began as a small act of kindness by a child could now become a movement capable of transforming many lives. Within days, Ibrahim mobilized a community initiative. Volunteers arrived from nearby neighborhoods, bringing tools, materials, and boundless energy. Local tailors, cobblers, and seamstresses joined in, offering their expertise to repair the countless shoes that had accumulated. People from all walks of life contributed. Some brought shoes, others donated money, and many simply came to offer their hands and hearts. The boy watched in awe as the community came together. He had spent countless hours repairing shoes alone, believing his efforts were small, almost insignificant. Now, surrounded by people who shared his vision, he felt a wave of joy and disbelief. His eyes sparkled, and tears welled up as he realized that his simple dream, to help those without shoes, was growing far beyond what he could have imagined. Children from the neighborhood lined up, shy at first, their bare feet touching the dusty ground. Volunteers handed out repaired shoes one by one. The expressions on the children's faces were priceless, a mixture of wonder, excitement, and gratitude. Some couldn't stop smiling, others hugged their new shoes tightly, as if holding on to hope itself. Ibrahim stood nearby, watching the scene unfold, his heart swelling with pride and emotion. The moment that would be forever etched in Ibrahim's memory came when the boy knelt before his younger sister. He held a carefully repaired pair of shoes in his small hands and gently slipped them onto her feet. For the first time, she walked confidently, her steps steady and free from pain. Her laughter rang through the street, pure and bright, filling the hearts of everyone present. The boy's eyes filled with tears of joy, and Ibrahim could see the weight of years of responsibility finally lighten, replaced by overwhelming happiness and pride. But the impact did not stop there. The act of kindness spread throughout the neighborhood like wildfire. Inspired by the boy's determination and Ibrahim's support, neighbors began noticing the needs around them, helping other children, repairing clothes, cleaning streets, and lending hands to those struggling. A small spark of compassion had grown into a beacon of hope, illuminating the entire community. Ibrahim stood silently for a moment, absorbing the scene. What had started as a single boy's mission had now blossomed into a collective movement. The broken shoes, once ignored and discarded, had become symbols of love, hope, and resilience. And it was all made possible because someone, even a child, dared to care deeply, and someone else, even a powerful leader, chose to support that vision. In that unforgettable afternoon, it became clear: kindness is contagious. A single act, no matter how small, can ripple through a community and transform lives in ways that are profound, lasting, and beautiful. Days passed, but the energy that Ibrahim had helped ignite did not fade. The boy continued his mission with renewed vigor, no longer alone but supported by a growing circle of volunteers and neighbors who had been inspired by his determination. The once quiet streets now echoed with laughter and the rhythmic sounds of shoes being repaired, cleaned, and distributed. Children, once barefoot or limping on broken footwear, now ran freely, their joy contagious, spreading through the neighborhood like sunlight breaking through clouds. The boy's sister, now able to walk confidently, became a small but powerful symbol of hope. She would follow her brother through the streets, sometimes carrying small shoes to deliver to other children, her tiny hands reflecting the same compassion that had inspired the entire community. The boy's eyes, once heavy with responsibility and quiet worry, now sparkled with pride and determination. He understood that his small acts, when combined with the support of others, could create a world of difference. Ibrahim watched from a distance, observing the transformation he had helped nurture. As he prepared to leave the neighborhood, he walked slowly, taking in the vibrant, renewed energy of the streets. He saw neighbors helping one another, volunteers teaching children how to care for their shoes, and small groups of people organizing themselves to continue the initiative even after he was gone. Each act of kindness, no matter how small, had created ripples that extended far beyond what anyone could have imagined. He reflected on the lesson the boy had taught him, that the smallest gestures, the quietest acts of compassion, often have the deepest impact. Power and influence could create change, yes, but it was empathy, selflessness, and consistency that built communities, healed wounds, and inspired others to act. A child's determination had reminded him that true leadership is not about grand gestures alone, but about nurturing hope and courage wherever it is found. Even as Ibrahim left, he could feel the warmth of the neighborhood's transformation lingering in his heart. People were now motivated to help others without expecting anything in return. A shared spirit of generosity and humanity had taken root. The broken shoes, once a symbol of neglect and struggle, had become a testament to the power of community, of collaboration, and of love in action. The boy continued to move through the streets each day, picking up shoes, mending them, and delivering them with the same careful attention he had always shown. But now he was no longer alone. He had learned that when people come together, even the most impossible tasks become possible. His small mission had grown into a movement of hope, touching lives in ways that extended far beyond the limits of the neighborhood. As Ibrahim walked away, he carried with him the image of a community transformed, not by grand gestures, but by small acts of courage, kindness, and compassion. He realized that every person, no matter how young or seemingly powerless, has the ability to create change. The ripples of one child's love, amplified by those willing to support him, had become a force capable of shaping a brighter, more compassionate world. And in that quiet reflection, Ibrahim understood the truth. The smallest acts, when rooted in love, can ripple outward to touch countless hearts, inspiring a legacy far greater than one person alone could ever imagine. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow over the neighborhood, the story of a small boy with a tattered bag of broken shoes came to symbolize something far greater than anyone could have imagined. It was no longer just a tale of shoes or a child's labor. It had become a lesson in humanity, kindness, and the extraordinary power of small acts performed with love. True kindness, as Ibrahim realized while watching the boy work tirelessly, knows no age, no wealth, no social status. It is not measured by the size of a donation, the number of followers, or the applause of an audience. Rather, it is measured in intention, in sincerity, and in the courage to act when no one else notices. The boy had nothing in material wealth, yet he possessed a heart overflowing with generosity, empathy, and determination. And in that heart, he carried the seeds of change, the kind that grows quietly but spreads endlessly, touching lives in ways words can barely describe. Even a child, with nothing but a small bag and a mission born of love, can inspire an entire community. The people who had once walked past him, indifferent or unaware, now joined in his effort, repairing, distributing, and caring for the children around them. Neighbors who had never spoken now worked side by side, sharing tools, knowledge, and encouragement. Volunteers from afar joined in, drawn by the story of courage and compassion that had traveled from street to street, home to home. The boy had started something that could never be undone, a ripple effect that would continue long after that day, quietly transforming lives and inspiring others to act with heart. This story is a reminder to everyone, young and old alike, that helping others does not require grand gestures or wealth. Sometimes the smallest actions, a smile, a hand offered, a pair of shoes repaired, can carry the weight of hope for someone who had none. It is in these acts, often unnoticed and uncelebrated, that true heroism resides. The boy's mission, humble yet profound, teaches that even the simplest gestures can leave a lasting imprint, creating ripples that extend far beyond what the giver can imagine. Ibrahim walked away from the neighborhood with a changed heart, carrying with him a lesson that was both humbling and inspiring. He understood that the world does not need more wealth, titles, or recognition. It needs more hearts willing to care, hands willing to help, and voices willing to inspire. The boy's courage and compassion were proof that every individual, no matter how small, has the power to change lives, to spark hope, and to leave the world better than they found it. As viewers witness this story unfold, they are reminded that true impact is never measured in grandeur, but in the love and care poured into every action, no matter how small. A child with a bag of broken shoes became a hero, not because of what he had, but because of what he gave. And in that simple, profound truth lies the power to inspire generations. That kindness, courage, and compassion can indeed change the world, one small, beautiful act at a time.